Prince Charming got a real beating in this one. From the opening shot, Polanski gives us a puzzle of a woman, one whose lid is scuffed up and is missing a few critical pieces. But I'm a man, I think. This should be no problem at all. Until the opening titles pop up and then we all get murdered. Repulsion's opening titles give me a sense of the inherent uncertainty that a rescue dog feels when brought into a home for the first time. Its eyes don't know where to look, so they look everywhere, which is as good as looking nowhere. The eye hits a thing, and meaning appears like bruises. My film critic brain makes assumptions like a cabbie driving a drunk man home at 2 a.m. Did he say Edgebrook or Edgewater? Is he singing or dying? What's that smell? I noticed that these opening titles happen to be the reverse of the title sequence from Knife in the Water, Polanski's first film. And they're an echo of Hitchcock's Vertigo, but Saul Bass is either on vacation or has better things to do. The eye of Catherine Deneuve is the eye of Kim Novak, but Deneuve's Carol is not Novak's Madeline. And the movie is telling us that we're going to fare far worse than Jimmy Stewart. The ebbing score of Bernard Herrmann dumped us on the curb, our brains no longer swirling with the eddies of Saul Bass. Instead, we have the steady beat of a drum, the cast and crew credits slowly rising upward, some disappearing into her eyelid, others rising off screen, as if Carol is thinking of nothing, so these drifting titles and the important little names might as well suffice. The last credit, directed by Roman Polanski, is the only one that moves on a straight line, right to left, as if to say, I'm in charge now. Relax. I'll relax when the camera pulls away, thank you very much. We finally see her face, and it's blank, communicating sadness or loss. We see that she is holding the hand of a sick woman, probably her mother. That makes sense, I think. The cut to the crusted and caked face of an old woman lying flat on her back on the sickbed confirms it. We're winning the game, boys. Our assumption was right, but it's not. I was too eager. It slowly dawns on me that the woman has moisturizers on her eyes, and the crusted caking substance is a mud mask, not disease, and the woman is in a beauty parlor, not a hospice. And the sad girl is holding her hand as if to give her company, but really it is because she has lost herself in the middle of a manicure. If nothing else, the opening sequence proves that we're desperate for meaning, or at least I am, something deeper than what we see every day. I go into the theater with my own 2 feet, awaiting domestication by the sweaty hand of the cinema. Sometimes I'm bedazzled, cuddling my popcorn, coddled, held, and amused, my senses overwhelmed or dulled. Sometimes I go to the movies expecting depth, but I crack my knees on the concrete floor of the pool. Polanski is aware of all these anticipations, and he plays with us, recognizing our need to understand something, anything, when we see the first few minutes of a film. He gives us at first the satisfaction of interpretation, sickbed, sadness, mother, but he pulls that away from us as he pulls back the camera, a magical reveal that only movies can achieve without resorting to lies. A close-up is not a lie, it is purpose, and our desperation to know, or to solve, or to fix, rises to the surface. Polanski plays this game with us just as life plays this game with us. A student comes into my office with a question, but the question isn't the question, it's the prelude to something deeper that the student can't express. Fear of failure? Desperation to please? Uncertain about the powers of their intellect, they come to the one who must be certain, because he is the professor, the teacher, the nominated master. They don't realize that my office door is a barrier that I use to keep them from me, to keep them from learning the truth, that my lectures are prepared, not spontaneous, that I rewrite every observation until it loses the trite tintinnabulation of rapid composition, that I'm still learning after all these years, that I am as confused and mute as an animal recently brought home for the first time, that I see each film for the first time no matter how many times I've seen it before, that connections I make from one film to the next are as much a product of accident as they are intention, from the serendipity of analogy rather than the puzzle pieces that resemble one another when held against a bright light. I ask my student what it is they want, and I am faced again with the mute, shaking voice of Carol, imploring me not to leave on a 10-day holiday, because how are they to work through their problem when they know the hands that live in the wall could manifest at any moment? But I answer their question and make subtle glances and gestures that imply I was in the middle of something important when they knocked on my door, that I have arcane work to return to, and their presence is an interruption that I allowed for a time but must now put to an end. They leave with a similar confusion as when they entered. The words I spoke merely ciphers that must now be decoded into action. To be honest, Repulsion is the slowest horror film ever made. It's like Polanski took a drink of Antonioni and said, I can brew that too, but my concoction will really screw them over. The men who wish to help our hapless protagonist don't fare too well, and the audience squirms. Won't anybody help her? But nobody will. because Carol is a woman whose nut will be cracked by herself, and more power to her. When you watch this movie, just give up. You are only an audience member, and this movie was made for you. I give this film 6 of my 7 children, keeping 1 for myself, just in case she goes nuts.